gone over line, and we have gone over shape, organic and geometric for both of them. And we've talked a little bit about space, and we talked a little bit about color. Not too much about color. We talked some about creating form, shading, that kind of stuff. We've been hitting all of our elements and principles. But now we're going to talk about space. Now, most of the time when we talk about space, we talk about things up close being bigger, things far away being smaller. The overlapping object, like my hand right now, if you were to look at my picture, is closer to you than my head is, even though it's smaller normally than my head, because it's overlapping. And then you usually have a horizon line, which divides the land and the sky, or in a room, you have a room line, which divides the floor and the wall. All right, that's the space we talk about. And outside is organic space, and inside is geometric space. All this should be like making a clicking in your head where you're like, yeah, okay, I kind of get that. The space that we normally don't talk about is negative space. And the reason we don't talk about it very often is it's because it's the space that we live our life in. Everything around us that is positive space is stuff like a table, a chair, a keyboard, bum, 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 bum. There it goes. Is all the props that make up our existence. Imagine us like an actor or an actress on stage, right? You got to have the scenery to set the mood. Well, the scenery is all cool, but if you had too much scenery and no space to move, you couldn't really express yourself in a physical way. So negative space is that which is not there. Ow, my head. It's the area you walk through in the room. It's the door when it's open. It's not this jar, but it's the space inside the jar. If we're looking at something more complicated, like this microphone, all right? It's not so much the microphone, but the little spaces in between the webbing and where the air touches the microphone. Whoops, I should really get that in shot if I'm going to talk about it instead of looking at it. We did a little of this when we did contour line. Remember, we drew our hands and we were just interested first about the outline of our hands. When we shifted to details, we stopped worrying about the negative space. So negative space is the blank area in which we go through. Now, why is that important? A couple of reasons. If you're having a hard time drawing, it's easier for your right brain to take over if you are drawing that which is not there. It's easier for your brain to process something that isn't there because your brain doesn't have a symbol for that. So when you're trying to draw something, if you're having a really hard time, you should try to draw the part where the air touches the object instead of the object itself, just that spot. And if we look at these two images here, there's a positive shape or space, and you're going to hear those two words, space and shape, interchanged a lot because space is three-dimensional, but when we draw it, it becomes shape. Whoa, because it's on a flat piece of paper. You don't have any dimension to a paper except side to side and up and down, so it's two-dimensional. We turn space into shape. So if we take a look at that picture on the left and we see the word criminal underworld, and we look at the yellow shape, what does the yellow shape look like? Anybody? What in the world does that yellow shape look like? All right, you're close. There's definitely a Batman in there. But is the yellow shape Batman or is the black shape Batman? The black shape. All right. If we take a look at just the yellow shape, which one of Batman's villains might that yellow shape be? Nope. Close. It's one of the top three villains, and it's definitely not Catwoman. The penguin. All right. So penguin's pointy old nose ends up making the underside of Batman's chin. Remember when we did the vase and faces? It's the exact same kind of thing. All right. Everybody saw probably Batman first because you can tell that's Batman upside down. And we like Batman, so that's the first thing we recognize. So totally right about that. But then the yellow shape ends up being the penguin. Now, how you look at it, which one's the negative? Well, a lot of people saw the black shape as positive because it's Batman, he wears black. Usually the black shape's the negative. Now, as we take a look at the plant on the right, whenever two leaves overlap, what happens to them? What's happening when those two leaves touch? Or all the leaves touching? Like you can see my fingers are separate from each other, right? Once those leaves touch, good, they merge, they become one thing. So our positive shape becomes this weird, flattened, mergy shape. It's a positive shape of a positive space. But the area around it, the air around it, is the negative space, and it becomes our negative shape. Whoa, this is getting very deep. Yeah, I know. It would be easier if we were in class. As you take a look here on the left, you see a still life, right? Once again, just like our plant, when things overlap, they merge, they become one. You can still kind of recognize things, right? There's some sort of lamp in there. That big tall object off to the left a little bit, that's actually an old heater. I only know that because I'm ancient. There seems to be a step stool over on the right. And then there is an actual step stool. So instead of drawing the stool itself, they drew these holes in the air. And this is one of the tricks to get you to draw more realistically. If you concentrate on what is that shape, your brain doesn't have a symbol for that shape, but I bet it's got a symbol for a stool. So instead of having to fight that symbol when you draw it, you draw the hole in the air. For some people, it's easier. It just really is. For other people, they're like, this is dumb. Okay, if it doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for you. All right, but it is worth trying a couple of times just to see if it's awesome. Same thing happens here. Our lines merge. We end up with this bicycle. Now, they did a really nice job at drawing the negative shapes in the bicycle because the bicycle is hard. I have had, they threw them away since COVID, but I had 7 busted up bikes down at the art department at Elgin High. And we pull them out of the basement, we throw them on tables, and we would make you guys draw them for this assignment. So you're going to be really happy that you didn't have to draw these bikes this year. This guy kind of cheated. He didn't do the spokes. The spokes are the part where your brain really has to work. All right. Now, one of these drawings is correct, and one of these drawings is wrong. All right. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying it's not how a bike would look. The bike on the right has a bunch of leaves wrapped in with them. The bike on the left is supposed to be just a straight up bike. What's wrong with the one on the left? Right. All right. So the one on the right, like unless you have a little kid's bike, and you might have a little kid's bike at home, but spokes angle and cross each other. The one on the left is where they've taken and they've thought about a tire being a pizza wheel. And in some circumstances, they'd be right. You know, you'd be like, well, on a little kid's bike, there's 5 spokes. They're out in complete order. They're all parallel to each other. Okay, fine. Or not parallel, pie shaped. But in a full-size adult bike, those spokes cross. And that's why you guys get crazy at me when I make you draw these bikes, because you actually have to look at these black shapes in the air and draw these shapes in the air to create the illusion of the overlapping and to create the bike tire. So Luckily for you, we're distance learning. I can't show up at your house with a bike. On the downside, or the upside, how you look at it, you can do positive and negative space turning into positive and negative shape with your cartoon characters. As we take a look, who are the people in the upper left? Upper left frame. Who is that? The Simpsons. All right, and they're set up just like the Sopranos logo back from about 15 years ago. You guys probably didn't watch that. Then we see the other two. All right, we see the one with the little kid and the magnets. Who do you think he's trying to be? Take a guess. It's from a superhero movie. Magneto. All right, or Magneto. My bad. I got used to saying Magneto as a kid. It's all right. I called the Submariner the Submariner. I used to get picked on a lot for that too. The one on the right, what character is he supposed to be? Punisher. All right, excellent. So you guys are starting to get it, right? You're going to end up doing a character all in shadow, all in silhouette. You're going to draw the negative space around him. Now, the way we're going to do it is going to be super easy. But I need you to come up with some kind of background. All right, so we're going to talk about how this negative space and positive space turns a negative shape, positive shape, and creates a thing that we call a silhouette. The silhouette is generally the blackened outline of an object. It is used in comic books constantly for a couple of reasons. Number one, incredibly dramatic. Number two, easy as heck to do. It is. And comic book artists get paid by the number of pages they draw. So a lot of times they'll do heavy discussion because they know all they have to do is faces and expressions talking to each other for a page and a half. And they get out of drawing more heavy lifting type of details, right? They also put in silhouettes because silhouettes mean almost no details. The outline has to be good, but you don't have to really show Harry Potter's teeth over there. Now, this one on the left is kind of cool because not only is it Harry Potter, and we can tell it's Harry Potter because it's got a little bit of a white scar here and his glasses reflecting. So they took this silhouette and they basically played with it a little bit. This isn't a true silhouette, and I can tell you why it's not a true silhouette, because a true silhouette, this would be black. This little guy down here wouldn't be a reverse silhouette in white, and Harry Potter's shirt would not be glowing, and neither would his tie. So he would just be one black shape, much like the girl on the right. All right. Now, here's the cool thing, and this is what you got to think about. You are going to essentially set a little scene with the silhouette that you come up with. And her, she's out doing what? What is this girl out doing? She's swinging, and she's on a tree swing, so the tree's a part of it. The ropes that she's swinging on in the swing are part of it. She's got a dog that's part of it. She's got these plants. There's no detail to those plants, right? I mean, they're carefully drawn because it's not like drawing spaghetti, but there's no detail. Some people use silhouettes and make them really complicated. You don't have to, but I thought these were pretty neat. This one here on the left with this guy and this kid, anybody figure out what movie that's supposed to be? Nope, nobody saw that movie, huh? He's kind of a guy who nobody, huh? Indiana Jones. That's Indy in Short Round. Love that movie. All right. How about the one on the right? Anybody know the one on the right that's more up your time schedule? This is another archaeologist. An archaeologist that carries guns. No, not quite. Close. Tomb what? Not Tombstone. Tomb Raider. All right, cool. Wow, thanks for making me feel like a million years old. Indiana Jones. Who knows that? I guess old folks. All All right, here you see some more cartoon ones. We got our Magneto coming back. We have a very fancy silhouette of this lady in a dress, and instead of complete blackness, they did an overlay of the TARDIS. So that's supposed to be from Doctor Who. Guy on the swing's a little too blurry. It's supposed to be a spider on his chest. The guy on the right is totally Who. Check his kite. Batman, right on. All right. Silhouette with the garbage can lid is what? That's the Rugrats. It's Captain America. Rugrats would be funny. And then the one in the middle is Iron Man. I think these kids are having way more fun than you guys are having right now. You might want to go outside today, throw a garbage can lid at a friend. All right, other silhouettes, city silhouettes, always real good for storytelling. Batman up there hiding on a street light, waiting for the criminal to come by. That's a really easy way to do a comic panel and not show all of Batman. There are things also like partial silhouettes, where you end up having an outline of a character that has a little definition in it. We still know that's Batman. We know it's Batman in both of them. But that's a partial silhouette where you're getting a light. Now, one thing I want to show you, which is kind of different from the negative space and the positive space and the negative shape and the positive shape. This is a silhouette. Everything about physics is wrong with this image. All right. First of all, the American flag does not glow and give off its own light. Smoke doesn't glow and give off its own light. Somebody's eyeballs don't glow and give off their own light. But is this a cool image? Yeah, that is a really cool picture. So this is the beauty about doing comic book stuff. You can break the rules of physics just to get a cool picture. You can be like, I'm going to draw it wrong because it looks cooler. And that's the wonderful part about doing comic books. You don't necessarily have to make it realistic. You can make what makes the image better. Whatever you guys have to do left on the character sheet, go ahead and do that. Next time we get together, I will show you how to do a silhouette. All right, think about what you want to do with your character in the silhouette and what kind of background. You don't need a lot of background. You know, that girl had a tree, and it was a dead tree. Nobody had to draw a leaf. Had a swing, had a dog, had some plants. Nailed it. All right, cool.